So this is a narrativization of the chat history. Vane was in a dark mansion. Cobwebs hung on every surface. In the eerie stillness, he looked around. Vuero was nearby, but the frost daggers were nowhere to be found. Vane's detect magic was still in effect, and he could see the magic swirling across every surface. But the magic did not touch Vuero. She seemed normal. I don't have the time or capabilities to ensure you are who you appear to be in this mess, so stick close so I can keep an eye on you while I look for the other frost daggers, Vane intoned dryly, glancing occasionally at Vuero while scanning the room. He seemed to be on the mansion's balcony overlooking the foyer. You can watch me all you like. As I said before, I've been watching you. You're destined for great things, Vuero chuckled slyly. Now get us out of here, hero. Vane turned to glare warily at Vuero, pressing her in Sylvan. You sound a lot like Echo. She seemed to feel I was very compatible with the destiny they sought. That wouldn't happen to be coincidental, would it? Vuero smiled and replied in common. Whoever this Echo person is, they must just have good taste. Like me. Vane turned around and began making his way toward the front doors of the mansion and critiqued in Celestial. I wouldn't consider their taste acceptable at all. The Fae are far too fond of torture and the dismantlement of the minds of others. Torture can be beautiful, but I prefer a war, if I'm being honest, Vuero replied idly in common. And as Vane looked away towards the doors he was approaching once more, he heard Vuero gasp. Spinning around just in time, Vane saw a giant spider pulling Vuero into a crack in the ceiling. Vane rapidly nocked and released an arrow. Daydream's grasp! He shouted as the arrow flew towards the arachnid creature's body. For a moment, Vane made out a terrifying, almost human face upon the spider's form, just before the arrow struck and the monster was wrenched away to a harmless location in the Feywild. Vuero dropped to the floor. Thanks, hero, she said in common. Vane helped Vuero up, while saying in Draconic, Why are the gods fools? Because they trust in mortals, Vuero replied in common, before looking at Vane and laughing. You've been speaking in different languages, haven't you? Oh, what a stupid mistake. All my plans. Vuero shifted to Draconic. I worked hard for this, Vane. I want you to know that your place in this world is no mere distraction for the Fae. You are no amusement. Then to Celestial. You are our warrior. You are fighting a war. To Sylvan. And warriors need weapons. I had hoped you would take this one of your own volition. I know you are unlikely to accept it now. Vuero drew forth a longbow, intricately carved with runes. But Starharvest is yours. A hero's weapon for the war to fight, she said, offering the bow forwards to Vane. Vane grimaced with clear frustration and temptation. He began to speak in common, almost under his breath, a mutter that monotonously crawled its way out of his mouth, slowly building in strength. I do not make deals nor contracts with Fae, and I do not accept their gifts. The legends are filled with those who have had themselves twisted beyond their reckoning, and those who have been made to serve ends they never would have for the lack of such a pact. A solemn pause filled the air, as Vane's eyes glued themselves to the enchanting runes embedded in the bow's limbs. Vane's breath held as if caught, and he felt a tension so dense that if he were of clearer mind, he may have worried it would crush him. Vane's eyes then left the bow and returned to Vuero's face. I do not accept this, he declared. Then Vane gestured to his surroundings and inquired in Sylvan, Is this place yours? Vuero responded in Sylvan, in kind. It is, one of many, for the gifts your friends need. One way or another. The banished spider creature reappeared, crawling down from the ceiling towards Vuero, who pets it gingerly. Vane's gaze traveled warily towards the spider thing. It seems you are in no danger here, so I will be leaving to find the others. I'm afraid I don't entirely trust the gifts you might provide them. Vane then turns back towards the mansion doors, preparing to step through them to find the other frost daggers. However, just before opening the door, Vuero spoke out once more. You don't have to trust me, but you could trust in the sacrifice Audley made. Did she save you so you could keep your soul? Or did she save you for something greater? Vane turned back, looking towards Vuero, who again gestures forwards with the bow, offering it anew. Why do you call me your warrior? Who are you, and what war do you fight that I serve on the front lines of? Vane interrogated Vuero, pressing for information. Take it and find out, Vuero challenged. Or go back to your friends empty-handed. This is your choice. I won't fight a war I don't understand. Until now, I've fought each battle by my own will. I take that and things change, Vane declared firmly. Your homeland might not need you after all, Vuero responded lightheartedly. A weapon must be wielded. Your enemies will still be your own. My enemies, perhaps, but my will? Vane glared, unconvinced. You say you planned to give me this, to the point that you would invoke the name and will of my dead ally against my better judgment. That is enough for me to listen to you, but not to follow blindly. What does it mean to be a hero, Vane? Vuero challenged slyly. I thought you'd never ask, Vane replied, pulling out a small sheet of parchment. Upon the parchment, written in bold, elegant calligraphy in large letters across the top, is the phrase, Vane's simple guide to being Lenny's ideal hero. Vane puffed out his chest and cleared his throat. Number 1. Don't do anything a hero wouldn't do, he declared heroically, then leaned forward slightly towards Echo and clarified. Keep in mind that includes not making deals that will supernaturally force you to do things heroes don't do. So that's a big no. Vane continued. Number 2. Don't put innocents in danger. Number 3. Help the downtrodden and victimized wherever possible. Vane was looking very proud of himself as he spoke, and continued on, gazing off into the distance while imagining Lenny's adoring gaze. Number 4. Take the most dramatic, tale-worthy approach possible. Number 5. Train every day. Always push yourself to improve. Finally, number 6. Ensure everyone knows of your noble deeds. Having finished, Vane rolled up the parchment and looked back at Vuero. And that's it, he declared, as his voice dropped to a cynical, apathetic scrawl, and he smirked. For me, anyways. After a moment, Vuero responded. I can give you some information. Whether you take this bow or not, before the day is done, you will be tested to help the downtrodden and victimized. You will be put in a position for the most tale-worthy act any mortal has taken, Vuero declared in apparent sincerity. This is going to happen. It's no trick, no deal. You will face this test. You can face it alone, or you can face it with Starharvest. Vane shook his head. I'm afraid you've left out the most important part. Vane's gaze fell back on Vuero as he said his final piece. If this weapon is more likely than my own bow to force my hand to endanger an innocent, then I'll have no part of it. Then Vane raised his chin and continued. But if you are simply worried as to whether I'm enough for the challenge, rest assured I'll meet it, with or without your manipulations. Vane then bowed slightly and left through the mansion's front doors. And then he appears with the rest of the group.
That's so good.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's really good.
I love all of these.
One thing that I think is also worth pointing out, because I remember coming back in and having no idea what happened, but Jared saying vaguely at the time, AJ, I can't believe you had that ready. Like, Jared didn't know that you had that list prepared. So when Vuero asks, what makes a hero? I think Jared was ready for, like, a moral conversation, and Vane's just like, I fucking know exactly what makes a hero, and it's fucking numbered. And Jared was just like, okay, never mind.
That's great. I remember that, but I did not put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, his exact words were, I stepped on one of AJ's trap cards. It was great. I was so happy. I was so happy to have that chance.
Man.
And I think it was my very... I could not have chosen a better chance for that to have happened than to literally be able to spring it on that particular individual in that particular moment.
Yeah.
Another example of
good.
how accidentally well written this story is.
Yeah.
Like, Jared wasn't
Right?
pushing on a button hoping it would fire. He had no idea that that was in there.
I think a
And
lot of you
that's
guys
how-
just in general provide like so much extra detail in your characters that just make things happen.
Yep.
I don't
Yeah.
try very hard, I have to say.
Oh.
I'm just kind of like, this comes to mind, I'll do that.
Sato's great. Oh my
Sato's
gosh,
awesome.
they are fantastic. I really appreciate everything
And
about Sato.
also, in this session, we would be dead. All of us.
Mhm.
Oh,
That's
Without
I
Sato.
really appreciated
Yeah.
that.
outside of trying to min-max the game.
You were like half an hour late to us saying how awesome Sato was for saving us from the 2 dragons. Or the second dragon specifically, I think.
And the
Cool.
first, the stun in particular.
Oh, yeah. You did mention that.
Oh, that was Whelm's purpose, but yes, it's all fun. I'm just saying, yeah, like
Okay.
Sato was kind of like this thing where I was like, I want to try and make an interesting fighting character that's a monk, and then that came up. Everything just kind of came together, like, and then
I recently... Sorry to cut you off a little bit. I recently
no problem.
used the term humble soup when talking to AJ, and I'm going to use it here too. I'm having none of your humble soup, you hung.
Thank you,
You're
but
great.
yeah, I just want to make sure, it's not like I'm not actually trying most of the time, and I'm sorry for missing out on a lot of the conversations around here, but
You're fine, dude.
You have nothing to apologize for at all.
Especially these recaps, which are just us talking about what we've already done.
Mhm.
oh,
I'm just kind of reading Paul's great notes, thinking about stuff.
Yep, I'm creating a record of it for us
Yeah.
later, which is great.
it just kind of happens to turn out because I like coming out of Obadiah, I was like, so Obadiah didn't really get to say much because he's just in general like I just didn't know how to emphasize Obadiah's like recklessness, so
Mhm.
it oftentimes turned into a character that I didn't really enjoy playing.
Yeah.
And then later on, when Jared gave us the choice to die, and I was like, it's about time Obadiah goes.
And then he went in such a spectacular
Oh,
fashion.
well, yeah, because like when I mentioned to him that I might want to like make a new character, he's like, "Would you like to get in on something?"
That's great.
Awesome.
And then
That's
we just like
fantastic.
he didn't even tell me how I was gonna die. He's just saying you're going to die, and I'm gonna make it happen. And then get a character prepared, and we'll see how the team reacts when it looks like I killed you by accident.
That's so good.
I also like that this is like the perfect place for us saying those like behind the scenes sort of things. So
Yeah.
that was perfect.
Yeah.
Is this too hard of a shift to pivot into Vanaya's experience?
Nope, I think it's good.
Not for me.
All right.